The whole year. I don't know, 200 and something shows and all sorts of issues. It all comes down to this. Gemma Tognini, you and I deciding what are the biggest stories of the year.
Well, I can't think of a better way to wrap the year up.
Exactly.
It's very fitting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Look, it's been a busy, hectic and news-filled year.
Yeah.
But to me, the biggest story is a lay-down misère.
Yeah.
The passing of Queen Elizabeth II.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be. I mean, globally impacting. There's not a nation on the planet that wouldn't have been A, aware of it, or B, somewhat interested in it. And it literally stopped the world. I mean, what was the viewership? They talked about the quarter of the world's population, if not more. It's a figure that I'm trying not to make up. I do remember reading it at the time. I should have had it handy. But yeah, absolutely, not just because she was the Queen of England, but her service, the length of her reign, what we remembered her for and what she was known for. It's an absolutely extraordinary story.
And we kind of expected it. We kind of knew it was on the cards. But when the news hit, have a look, it hit like a thunderbolt.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The Palace has just issued this statement. It says the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow.
Yeah, extraordinary stuff. And for those reasons you talked about, this is more than news. This was history. I think we all knew we were seeing history unfold before our eyes.
Absolutely. And I think such a watermark moment for the modern, the continuing evolution of the royal family. We've seen since then King Charles start to make his mark in terms of, right, Andrew, you're out. Right, working royals, these are the new rules. I think if nothing, they are cognizant of the fact that they are there at the pleasure of the British people. They're very loved by the British people. We know how much in terms of the economy that the British royal family brings into to Britain. I'm not a monarchist, but I'm not a Republican either. I'm a don't broke. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That makes you a monarchist, I think.
Okay, I'm happy to wear it.
You can be a monarchist. I'm a Republican.
You're not going to cancel me?
Great respect, though, for Queen Elizabeth II and the way she conducted herself. I want to go to the next story because this too is something that is history, and we'll have to wait and see how big a history it's going to turn out to be.
Breaking news this morning. It's war. President Putin announces the start of a military operation. Explosions heard in the Ukrainian capital Kiev, as well as the eastern city of Kharkiv.
Yeah, that was just the start of it. Since then, we've just been inspired by the courage of Vladimir Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. But I suppose the big question is, how long does this war last? Does it expand? Did the Ukrainians get back their country? What happens to Russia? It's a really open-ended question.
It was the weirdest thing this morning, reading through the morning news, as people like you and I do, and reading the latest from the Ukraine and thinking, war's still going on. We're all obsessed with Christmas. Like, it's just the weirdest sort of dynamic. When does it end? How does it end? Is that dependent on US foreign policy? Is it dependent on if someone can take out Putin? How crazy is he? All of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Now, domestically, within our shores, I think the biggest story was the federal election. It culminated in this event in Sydney's inner west. I was there.
Together we can be a self-reliant, resilient nation, confident in our values and in our place in the world. And together we can embrace the Uluru Statement from the heart.
There he goes. It was a fascinating win because Labor's vote went backwards, but they win government because the coalition went backwards. And then he chucks in the voice, I'm a supporter, but no one saw that as a number one issue. And suddenly on the night of the election, suddenly he's going forward with it. And next year's going to be fascinating on many levels, especially on energy and on how he goes with the voice.
I think the story for me politically of the year is this evolving story. It is actually not something that can be contained. I think it's the way that the Albanese government has come into office, obviously enjoying a tremendous honeymoon period that's starting to look rockier. I don't know that they are reading the room right on energy by any means, and I think they're in for a lot more pain than they are aware of.
I don't think they're reading the economics or the engineering right on energy.
I don't think they're reading anything. And you can talk about Mr. Bowen, who in my view is not suited for that portfolio at all, but the Prime Minister has made it pretty clear he's taking carriage of that. He's, you know, not a captain's call as much, but it's his call, and he's driving that agenda and making it very clear it's from, you know, from the top down. I think they are in for several rude shocks. I don't know that they remember that Australian elections are typically won in the centre, and they're won for reasons that are very boring and dull, things like hip pocket. You know, everyday Australians, regardless of their politics, share that kind of focus. And you can talk about the Teals. I mean, the greatest story that never was. They did nothing in Victoria because there wasn't a Scott Morrison to loathe.
Now, you also saw another election while you were in Italy during the year, and of course Giorgia Meloni won there. Is that a fight back for the mainstream, the right of centre mainstream?
It is. And I was actually saying to a friend during the week, you know, Giorgia Meloni's been in office since, when was I in Italy?
You
September.
say it better than me.
Meloni. It's been years, 49 years of saying Tognini, it's not Tognini. You know, she was elected in September, and oh my gosh, Italy hasn't regressed. You know, gay marriage is still legal. You can still get a legal safe abortion. Like, it's not, all of the things that the fearmongers on the left love to warn about have not materialised, because she is, amongst other things, politically pragmatic and focused on Italy's relationship with the EU, the economy, immigration, all of those things. So I've been enjoying watching that.
Yeah, I hope she's successful.